Hello, welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. Hello, gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening. How are you? Tom Crotty, James Blanchfield, and Paddy Brown.
Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening, Stephen.
Hello. Lads, we didn't get to record our podcast last week due to technical difficulties.
Stop lying, you just couldn't make the technology work. That's all that was wrong.
I couldn't. We ran out of electricity here, and the car battery wasn't working, so the computer wouldn't get going and all that stuff. Apologies, but we will catch up. There's been a couple of matches in the Leinster League. Is a weekend off this weekend, so we've a bit of time to catch up with the stuff that happened before. Of course, we're going to chat about Ireland and the World Cup and Scotland. The team is named today. We're recording this on a Thursday, so the team has been named this afternoon. We'll chat all that and more between now and the end of the show. We're going to start with Carlow and Tom Crotty. Tom, a bit of catching up to do. You were out against Boyne and Athy in the last 2 weeks. Athy the week before last. He's lost that one, which is beat Boyne though there at the weekend gone. So tell us about those.
Ooh, right. We'll start off with Athy. One good result, one bad result. I start off with the seconds first. Cracking game of rugby. The seconds was they won by 1 point. It was 14-15. Seconds played really, really well. It was great to see them playing with a bit of structure, and they had a few boys coming back from football and so on, and a couple of guys who hadn't played in a couple of years had young lads who decided to come back. So it was good. It was good to see them back. But they had a really, really good game and a tight finish right to the end. And that got their league campaign off to a good start. So everything was going rosy at that stage. And then we went out. The J1s then went on to start their game. Athy got a penalty to start the game, and then we got a easy enough try, and I think we felt we were sort of settled, and then things went pear-shaped. It's the only way I can describe it. We were totally off the boil. I don't know whether it was a mix of being away the previous weekend in France with a lot of the players, and just the week running in was wasn't particularly wonderful at training, and it was sort of a bit flat. And when we arrived then to play the game on the Sunday, I don't know, the whole day just seemed flat. Our defence was way off the mark. We were soaking tackles all day instead of being on the front foot. Our probably biggest issue, they had the young scrum half. He's the Leinster under 18 scrum half, or under 19 scrum half, and is probably, and I think he played Irish under 18s as well. He got a dispensation. He's only 17, but he was absolutely phenomenal. The real difference between the two teams. He guided the game really, really well. His support lines of running were super. It gave Miller the out half plenty of time to be able to stand back. Stand a little back. We didn't get a finger on Miller all day, which was the opposite to last season, where in Athy we completely rushed the fence and put their whole back line under pressure. We had them up in the pack, but this time around, we didn't get any break of the ball really, and the young fella actually scored 4 tries against us. He's just with his support lines are totally different. Our old young scrum half probably wasn't the ideal game for him to start. Noah probably had a poor enough game, but mainly due to, I'd say, his first big game at J1, and also the fact, he's up against the competition he knew very, very well, and things didn't go well for us. And at the end of the day, like we put our hands up. It was a shocking performance from the whole squad. We knew coming off the field there was no one to blame but ourselves. We had a lot to make up this week in training, and just to park that out of our heads and start afresh. So look, we left it high with our tail between our legs, and that happens sometimes, and that's sport. You can't. it just as I said, like the whole thing was flat. There's no particular. I can't go through the game and say there was anything there that turned the game for to them, except as I said, our defence was shocking and we just weren't up for it. And I think the fact that Athy, we bet them twice last season, and we were thinking we were the only team to beat them at home, and that kind of stuck in their heads. So I mean, they were really, really up for this game, and look, we just got caught in the hop. It was pity for the first game to come out with no losing bonus points. We got no points at all out of it, which is not a good thing in our league because it's so tight. But anyway, we parked that, and training this week, we got together on Tuesday night and we just discussed there was no point in really going back over the game and such. You just start afresh and park it. So we had 2 really good training sessions this week. A couple of changes to the team in the back row, and so as I say, on Sunday then the seconds went out first, and again they had a few more players back, a couple of backs back, as we've been really short with backs due to football and so on, but a couple of players back, a couple of players that needed game time. It was nice to see Owen Edghill back, our captain, who got injured actually last year playing. He broke his hand and his wrist last year playing in the Athy match, the last Athy match away, and put him out as captain for the rest of the season, which was a bit unfair. But it was great to see Owen back on the field with the seconds on Sunday. But the seconds played really, really well. They're one thing we noticed this season, the structure seems they're very simple structure, and like last year, I know they were playing a bit off the cuff, but this year they seem to have found their stride and have found a simple way of playing. And I think the coaches have kind of given them kind of the outline to play, and they've kind of used that and probably simplified it even a tiny bit more, and it worked. And they had a really, really good win, a solid win against Boyne. So that's 2 wins from 2 with the seconds. So it's great to see them starting, because you need your seconds to be firing if your first are going to fire. So back on then to the J1 game. Really fast physical game. Everyone on the sideline after kind of said that they couldn't believe the pace of the game and the hits that were going in from both sides. Probably we probably could have scored two more. We had scored. Should have scored 2 more tries. I had 2 tries disallowed. One of them definitely, even the Boyne player said it was a try. Shouldn't have been disallowed. But we were happy with the win. Our the pack played really, really well. Stuck it to them up front. Their defence was super. Couple of really good games from the likes of Welsh Early and John Lyons and Paddy Mackey. The forwards really shone, and the backs were kind of faultless in their way. And I have to say, the young scrum half, Noel Cope, probably had a shaky first couple of minutes of the game, and probably due to the previous game, but once he got settled in, had a superb game at 9, which was great to see. He gained in confidence as the game went on. He definitely gained in confidence throughout. I have to say, we had Richie White in the centre, and I know sometimes we're looking at Richie and his age, but in fairness to him, we've been sharp backs, and Richie slotted into 12 this week, and had a super game with the boot from hand, and did everything he was asked, tackled like a demon, which is sometimes which Richie mightn't have been noted as good as a prominent tackler, but in fairness, on Sunday had a great game in defence, and the back line worked really, really well. We actually had 3 sets of brothers. We had 2 Crotties, 2 Copes, and 2 McDermotts in the back line. So poor Richie was the odd man out there in the centre. So it was brilliant to see. And of those 6 players, every single one of them came through from youths, which is an amazing feat, Look, there was probably, as I say, we probably left a few points behind, but to beat Boyne at home is a good result any day of the week. you know, they're a very, very good side, and they're only going to get better. And you know, so it's just to get that win under your belt, especially after losing the previous week. It was a huge game for us to win, confidence-wise, and just with the new coaches as well. It wouldn't have, you know, from their confidence and the players' confidence and confidence in each other. If we had lost that game, it might be a different story. But as I say, like we played really, really well as a team. Not a faultless performance. We still got a huge amount of work to do. But it was just nice to see them playing the way they should play. And look, we're looking forward now to the break this week, and looking forward to then. You know, we've Longford away next either Saturday or Sunday. We don't know which day yet, but it's a huge improvement on the week before. Training was really, really good. It was a lot of work put in, and as I say, we have a lot of players who are back now, and it's brilliant to see. There's a lot of young guys who have come back who haven't played in a couple of years, who were good athletes but just haven't played rugby in a couple of years, and they've kind of come back into the fray. So we're getting a good buy-in to what's there this season. And look, it's a tough league. James will know, there's any of the teams there, really, you know, any of those teams can end up in the top two this season, and any team could end up in the bottom two, because I think there's going to be some strange results throughout the season. So every game must be taken as a big game. You can't really afford to lose, or you can't afford not to get a point out of it. And if possible, if you do win, to try and get that bonus point, because I think at the end of this season, every point is going to count. But look, we're positive. It's nice to be able to come on the podcast this week with a smile on my face, because if we had the podcast last week, I wouldn't have been a very happy camper. So look, it was nice to turn things around, and as I say, like we're happy and looking forward to the games next week.
Lovely stuff,
Tom. Was possible, Tom, for you to take John White out of retirement and have 4 sets of brothers in the back line?
Yeah. John is actually coaching. It's brilliant to have to say. John is coaching.
John's a great lad.
John is even with his young family, like, you know, it's brilliant. He's after committing to. He's been coaching in Bagnallstown School all along. He's a good coach, and he's helping out with the 18s this year, which is brilliant. It's nice to have. It's nice to have a well-structured system back in place, and I think the 18s will improve. They're a very young side, and you know they'll improve as the season goes on. And I think the majority of the team, I think there's only about 5 of the actual 18s. The rest are all last year's under 16s. So look, they'll probably struggle at times, but with John at the helm there, I know that they'll enjoy the season and the way they're going to play. And I think the youths in general have been fairly decent last week. Our youths been a couple of good wins, a couple of narrow losses. The Rhino 18s had the Tullow Carlow Rhinos had. We went down to Kilkenny on Saturday, and they had a good win of the 18s against Kilkenny. The 16s are unbeaten in the southeast. They had another tremendous win at the weekend. They're out in Leinster League this weekend, a tough one at home against Athy. And the 14s are banging away with good numbers as well. So between youths and the combined girls, it's been a fairly successful kind of season, the start of the season so far.
Good stuff, Tom. Good to hear. Like you said, nice to have the old break this weekend. Enjoy the early match and let the hair down for a while. Who wants to go next, man?
You go ahead, James.
Perfect, Paddy. Yeah.
Kilkenny.
Thanks for reminding me we have a break this weekend, lads, because I was planning to head up to Athy this Sunday. So I can go to Thomastown and play in Donegal in the intermediate semi-final on Sunday, so I can go to that now. No, look, we're 2 from 2 with the first and 2 from 2 with the seconds, and you can't argue with it. And it would be easy to pick faults against Kildare why we didn't pick up a bonus point, but you know, 2 from 2, first and seconds, both going well. We can't argue. Look, at same as Tom, we started with the first game, the Kildare game 2 weeks ago, was pretty much we went into it with a little bit of knowledge about Kildare after the Cup semi-final last year. However, it was largely nearly a totally different team. They had 2 new centres. They were missing their loose head going into the game. He got injured playing with the Irish Defence Forces. So we kind of dominated them up front, but we know the next time round we won't get as much dominance in the pack against them. So I suppose that game we started with a relatively strong team. Brian Howe, Ben Devon, Rob Kelly in the front row. Rob Kelly a tight head instead of loose head. And it made, we missed Rob all season last year. He had a bit of a weird injury. So he was back and had a bloody great game at tight head. Jay Colbeck was in the second row alongside Tyg Butler. Wes Carter was unavailable up until around the middle of November. So kind of it's great to see Tyg Butler, who has been the seconds captain for the last couple of years, in there getting his go at first rugby. Then the back row was Dave O'Connor, number 8, Gary Dunn, number 7, and Liam McWee at number 6. Now, anyone who's supported Kilkenny rugby a long time or over the last 10 years will know who Liam McWee is. But Liam is a chap who's probably younger than people would think, but he's been on the go a long time with the seconds. But he's really stepped up this year, and he's starting number 6 for firsts, and deservedly so. And he's one of these players you might think he's anonymous in a match, but he's anonymous because he's doing all of the tough stuff. So we're all delighted to see Liam kind of getting a crack at the first. And in the back line, big changes in our back line this season. So Isaac Daly, who Tom would be very familiar with, is in at number 9 and has had 2 great outings. Steve Atkinson is at number 10. Jake MacDonald is playing in the centre now alongside a new signing that's come in from Australia, Tristan Leffers, and then Ned Devon, Willie Seal, and Joe Manuel. So look, we're happy with our squad. The Kildare game we went 3-0 down after 20 minutes. It was horrible at the beginning. It was just horrible rugby, horrible day. Couldn't get a rain coming in sideways, the wind coming. But we went 3-0 up, and then they went 3-0 up. We got it back to 7-3. Gary Dunn got a maul try, a very good maul try. Hugh Corkery converted from a tight angle. Then we went 14-3 up off a penalty try. One of our lads was going over the line. I thought it was a harsh decision by the ref. It wasn't going over the line. It was a high tackle. He kind of hit him up here, and the referee who had a great game, who gave a penalty try. But from the kickoff, then sure, and a yellow card as well. So I thought it was a tough one on Kildare. Then Kildare went and got a penalty, brought it back down. But then we scored another try in the 34th minute, 3 tries on the board, 3 converted tries on the board. We were cruising. But pretty much in the kickoff then from our third try, don't know what we were doing at the kickoff, failed to clear it. Tullow says Kildare went in off first phase in over the line. So 21-10 at half time. Good first half. Then we picked up a yellow card. Dave O'Connor picked up a yellow card for a high tackle. There must have been 10 penalties in the game for high tackles. Kildare came back at us again and got another try, brought it to 17 points to 21. They got a yellow card, and we just owned the ball for the last 15 minutes of the game. There was one stage we had broke up the clubhouse side towards the far end of the club, the Kilkenny. 3-man overlap out wide, and we choose to kick the ball, put a grubber kick in behind, and it bounced dead. Blew a bonus point try there. Had about four penalties, 5 metre scrum or 5 metre line outs. We were held up for one of them. So in fairness to Kildare, did a bloody good job at holding us out for the bonus point. Seconds had a really strong win there as well against Kildare. Kildare, albeit they came down with only 13 players. Their 13 players put in an absolute electric performance for probably 50 minutes, but they just ran out of juice, and we kind of took over. De La Salle Palmerstown then last week, I couldn't make it. I was away, which is something planned myself and Kate, so we were away. But it was again the same kind of game. It was kind of played in poor enough conditions. We kind of dominated the scrum, dominated the game, but just failed to get enough of points on the board, is what I'm saying, is what the lads are saying. Jay Colbeck was held up over the line at one stage. we've had the lion's share of territory throughout the whole half, but just couldn't get scores on the board. Second half, DLSB started really, really well, and they brought it back to 3-all. Then we scored a try. I'm not sure who scored a try. I think it was Jay Colbeck off the back of a driving maul, and we converted it. And De La Salle came back at us then. 10-all. It was 10-all for up to about, I'd say it was 10-all up to about it was probably the 65th minute, and Hugh Corkery nailed the penalty, and we won at 13-10. So look, you'll take them all, the good and the bad, but we know that we have to be far more clinical on certain things that we're doing around the pitch, far more clinical in when we have the bonus point in the palm of our hand, we have to take it. But the good thing is kind of we have our full squad together. Our scrum problems from last year seem to have been fixed. We have props coming out our ears now. You know, we've Drew Phelan back, who missed last season. Tighthead, he was the tighthead prop that won the Towns Cup with us. Robert Kelly is back from missing all of last season. Conan Dunn is back. Then you have Ben Devlin and Brian Howe. But the really one that we're all happy about is the progression of Donald Keeley from the under-18s up to the firsts. Donald was in around the Leinster youth squad last year, and he's in with the first team now. So he's coming on. It's great to kind of have that replacement hooker to come on instead of Ben, and kind of in about the 65th minute. So everyone is delighted to see that. Women's team are now, what is it? They're 2 from 3 games. They lost their first game, beat Wanderers in Kilkenny 2 weeks ago. Disappointed, you know, that Wanderers came down again. They came down with 12 or 13 players, so they had to play 12 aside. But you can see the progress the girls' teams are making. That Gary Doyle is coaching them now, along with Paddy Moss. And Gary is kind of expanding their game plan, expanding how they're playing rugby, and they're getting passes out to the wings, and they're constructing tries rather off second and third phase now, rather than kind of trying to get first phase tries and stuff like that. So they had a very strong win there, and then they beat Eden Derry last week. Last week had another strong win. So, you know, they'll just stay building away there nicely and building that game plan. Youths are going very well, but look I mean, from a youth's perspective, we're still missing dozens of chaps and girls to GAA. You know, it's I think I know it's an ongoing battle that Tom and I and Johnny previously would have been talking about, is trying to coordinate the sports calendars between the GAA and the winter sports, because you're looking at under 13s and under 16s in hurling. You know, some of them haven't had a competitive match since July, and then they're into championship only starting 2 and 3 weeks ago in Kilkenny, and they're not coming back to play rugby because in fairness, they have chances of hurling, but surely to God, something can be done in those down months where there's nothing happening to allow the winter sports. We're not stopping young lads and young girls playing hurling and GAA. So, you know, we should be trying to coordinate things between ourselves to ensure that there's a defined start and an end to our season and to their season. But look, that's an argument for another day. So look, all in all, we're very happy with what's going on, and progress has been made. We know from our first perspective, the next day out now against Athy, that's going to be a very crucial game in context of our season, but also in context of Athy's season. The winner of that game will probably be fancying our chances of having a crack at the league. And I know there's other teams around us that are going to have a lot to say about it as well, but we're coming down, and Athy, we've come down from 1A, and Athy are a club and a team that are on the way up. So I think it's going to be an interesting affair. And I can't remember the last time that we played Athy in a competitive match. It's a long time. So it's going to be a fixture that I think there'll be a strong Kilkenny contingent, weather pending, travelling up to see it. But we're looking forward to it, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely good stuff, James.
Gentlemen, I'm afraid I have to leave. I have another meeting to go to. So nice to hear you.
Is it?
What? Terrible being a busy man. I'll have to go back now and listen to what Paddy has to say.
You have to talk a bit more sense than Tobin anyway. Sorry, Johnny.
No bother. See you, lads.
See you there, Tom. Paddy, we'll hear from you. Paddy, you had a good win over Bective, which was a huge scalp to get a couple of weeks ago. But brought back down to earth, I suppose, last weekend in a loss to your nearest and dearest rivals, Wicklow.
Yeah, there's a mixed blessings since we spoke to you last. All right, Stephen. The Bective match was interesting from a number of points of view. Bective had been winning the league the last couple of years, and they had won their first match as well, like ourselves, and they came down very determined. And their Tullow coach was he wasn't showing his bipartisan views at all. He was very much wearing his Bective badge, as you would expect from a head coach. But yeah, it was an amazing game. And while we've been talking a lot about Sean O'Brien's comeback, that day was all about one player, and it wasn't Sean, it was Adam Johnson. So Adam scored 2 tries and contributed very handsomely all the way through. Sean himself started in number 8, but he moved to the backs in the second half and made a big difference in sort of the defence and also the attack in the backs. But Adam scored 2 great tries and was kicked a penalty. Bective, for their part, had kept in the game and went ahead with a few minutes to go, and it was almost the last play of the game, and they had scored a penalty, so there were 2 points ahead. And we kicked off after the penalty, and they caught the ball, and instead of kicking it up the field, they decided to try to run it and retain possession. And in doing so, they lost possession, and we attacked, and the referee gave a penalty. And it wasn't a gimme because the weather condition was a strong wind, and it was about 40 metres out, a little bit to one side. But Adam Johnson, after scoring his 2 tries, came up and coolly nailed the penalty to win by a point, 21-20. So it was an absolute thriller, a real cliff edge finish, and it was a great day for us because it was our first home Saturday match, obviously since we got promoted. And there was a huge crowd there. We couldn't believe it. Now, there was a few other games on as well, but the car parks were absolutely chock-a-blocks, and we had a bit of a day planned as well to coincide with the South Africa match. But there was a great buzz there that day, and that the result obviously contributed hugely to that. So prior to that, our seconds we were glad to get a seconds team out now, and we ran Bective to within 3 points, so we were quite happy with that. So that was a big day, and Bective were very disappointed because they had big ambitions. Now, results since would suggest that they mightn't be as strong as they were. I don't know. I'll come to that in a minute when we talk about our match last week. But certainly, Bective came down, and both of us had won our first matches, so it was obviously a big game. So then last week we had our third game and went into it unbeaten. But as you said there, Stephen, we were playing our great rivals Wicklow, who we've sort of been playing a lot in the last few years, and generally we won the game in Tullow and they won the game in Wicklow. We were missing a few from Gaelic, but I mean that's no excuse. Sean O'Brien was missing because that was well heralded in the national media about him playing in the junior final in Carlow for the Cocks. It made RT news, so it's amazing to see a junior final in Carlow making the national news. But anyway, as it turned out, he didn't start because he wasn't available for their semi-final, and he came on in the second half. But they were beaten by a strong hurling club, St Mullins, who James will be familiar with. St Mullins were delighted to win a junior football. But anyway, that meant that Sean wasn't available. We're missing a few other guys as well in Wicklow, but still we had a reasonably strong team out there. And as is often the case in Wicklow, it was a horrible, horrible day. There was the wind coming in. There was very strong wind, and it rained very heavily. And the wind dominated the match. We were 6-0 up with 2 penalties in the first half. At half time, having played with the wind in Wicklow, then we're playing with that same gale in the second half, and got 2 tries and converted one of them fairly early on in the second half, and the score remained at that 12-6. So we got glad to get a bonus point out of it, I suppose. But yet it did it was a little bit of a downer after a good, very strong start to the season. The way the results are going, it's a bit like 1B. The results are hard to follow. The teams are beating other teams, and so it's hard to know what way it's going to go. It does it kind of at this stage, after it's very early, but after 3 matches, 2 of the Dublin teams look to be very strong. They're winning with fairly strong margins. That's Monkstown and Seapoint. And I think Seapoint bet Bective as well. So there are 2 teams that are going to be hard beaten in it. They both won their first 3 matches, I think. Some of the provincial clubs are not doing quite as well. Like Gorey and Wicklow were glad to get a win because I think they hadn't won either their opening 2 matches. So unfortunately,
I'm shocked with Gorey how they've had such a great season last year, and they appear to be having such a bad start to the season this year.
Yeah, I think they've lost all 3 matches, haven't they? From you say, James, from where they were last year, they were second in that division, and they were the top provincial club in it easily. So,
and deservedly so. They were playing great rugby. Look, I won't see them this year, but I'm very surprised by them.
Yeah, we'll be playing them now in a few weeks' time, and we'll know more about them then. But yeah, it's a big surprise, and I haven't been talking to anyone. I haven't heard what the backstory is, if there is one. But last Saturday in particular, I think they were beaten by a cricket score, and they only got 3 points themselves. Again, against one of the Dublin clubs. But it's a strange one. But yeah, we have a bit of a break now, like ourselves, and our next game is home to Ashburn, so that'll be one we'll be hoping to get a scalping as well. Unfortunately we didn't get a seconds match team out against Wicklow. We have, like all the clubs, we have a good few lads tied up with Gaelic games, so we're hoping to rectify that. As Tom said earlier, the importance of getting the second team out. We didn't get a second team out after Christmas last year, and it really made a huge difference when we did get them out, and went on to win the Seconds Cup, which was fantastic. Other than that, the ladies have had mixed fortunes so far. Won against Barron Hall, and then lost last week against Belvedere. And as you said, Stephen, earlier, they're playing against Trinity away next Saturday, and but they're going very well in training, and they've had a few extra players, so I think they're reasonably confident about the season ahead, and because they wouldn't have been going that strong early last year and still went on to win the cup, so we're hoping they can keep that together. The underage teams have been mentioned there, and the Rhinos, which is the Tullow Carlow, they have 3 games coming up the weekend, and they've been going very well. Our youths have a full round of Southeast games the coming weekend, and have been getting fairly good results. So it's all very well. The coming weekend, I think the IRFU are running a Respect Our Game campaign, when all youth teams are asked to show extra respect to referees, to opposition, to supporters, etc. And we'll be picking a fair play player in every match and nominate them. So I think it's a good initiative by the RFU, and sort of try to instill the respect that we always expect in rugby into all the youth's games, and it can do nothing but good.
I couldn't agree with you on that, Paddy, because I saw it myself. I'm doing the youths coaching coordinator at Kilkenny this year, so I'm kind of going in looking at more youths matches, and sometimes you see it on the sideline. There's a little bit of kind of chatter at the referee from the sideline, and not from spectators watching the game. And I think it's something we're doing at Kilkenny, is if you hear it now, and anyone even having to go at a referee saying, come on, ref, that was a bad decision. Actually, people on the line now are empowered to say, leave the referee alone, lads. And that's from the top down.
That's good.
I mean, sadly, it's a feature of soccer and Gaelic as well as rugby, and it's been getting worse in the last few years. I think parents are getting more passionate about their sons and daughters playing, but you look at, I think you really have to continue to work at it and get the message out there. And even the signs that are up around clubhouses now is a great help, and the message will get across, I'm sure, in time. But an initiative like that, if you're having this weekend, is another necessary sort of step along the way of getting this and getting into the kids' heads that this is you absolutely show respect to the referee, to your opposition, to the spectators, and vice versa. So yeah, it has to be good.
I actually need to drop off there now, lads, and after just getting a text message to go and do a job. So we'll talk next week.
Absolutely, James. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the. Thanks.
Just to finish on that, one of our great servants, Aho, is having his 40th birthday in the club next Saturday. So, like we did for the South African match, we're having a bit of a day in the club next Saturday for watching the Scottish match, and will be followed by a big 40th birthday celebration for Aho, who's been a fantastic servant to Tullow ever since he came over from New Zealand.
Paddy.
Oh, he really is, and I mean, he's certainly more Tullow than Tullow himself now. But and he's married to a local girl from a strong rugby family, one of the Fitzgeralds, you know. So, and Anzi, his wife, has been a stalwart on the ladies' team for the last number of years. So yeah, they're a great part of Tullow rugby, the whole lot of them, you know. And his mother's home over visiting them from Australia or from New Zealand at the moment, and some other members of his family. So it's a great occasion for him and for the Fitzgeralds and for the whole club this coming Saturday.
Absolutely. That's it. It's good to have the weekend off, Paddy, so people can watch the Scotland match. I suppose, well, that's not the only reason, but, you know, it's nice to have the time off anyway, rest the bodies. But the Ireland team has been named.
On that point, we've 3 matches played now, and even this early in the season, we need a break. There's a few sore bodies around the place, so we're certainly looking forward to the break.
Absolutely. And sure, just while we have it, we record this on a Thursday, so the Ireland team for the play Scotland has been named today. We'll have a chat through that, Paddy, while I have you here. So it's going along the bottom of the screen, but you've probably seen it already. So your front row is Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan and Tyke Furlong. Your second row is Tyke Byrne and Ian Henderson. The back row is Peter Mahoney, Josh van der Fleer and Caelan Doris. Of course, you've Gibson Park and Johnny Sexton, the half-backs. James Lowe is on the wing, Bundyaki, Gary Ringrose in the centre, Mac Hansen is on the right wing, and Hugo Keenan's full back. And on the bench, you have, let me have a look here. I have to wait for this thing to scroll by.
Finlay Beelum and Dave Kilkenny.
They are, and Ronan Kelleher. And James Ryan is second row cover. You've Jack Conan is back from his injury. He's in there. Conor Murray, Jack Crowley and Stuart McCluskey. So let's talk about, I suppose, I think the big one is Stuart McCluskey. That means that Robbie Henshaw's in bother, and they were saying today that it could be out for a couple of weeks, like his World Cup could be over before it really got started. Yeah,
I heard Andy Farrell saying today that they won't know. It's a hamstring tweak he got on Tuesday, and it'll take 5 days before they know for sure, and for the prognosis to be known for sure. But yeah, you'd be very concerned for him. It's late into the tournament to be getting a hamstring, and he has missed out on a few matches as well. He came on as a sub the last day and did fine defensively in particular. I suppose the other big talking point too when you're talking about injuries is the fact that James Ryan hurt his hand on Tuesday or Monday and was a doubt for the match, and yet he's picked in the subs, so that would suggest that he's recovered from his injury. So it's a fairly big call, because he's a huge leader within the team, and it just shows you the regard that Andy Farrell has for Henderson. And Henderson had a great game when he came on against South Africa. So that's a big call. I wouldn't be worried about either of them, and it's great that James Ryan is able to take his place in the subs. But for Ireland's next captain and a stalwart within the pack and the line out caller, not saying that went too well the last day, but it's a very big call and interesting to see. But I'm still delighted that James Ryan is in the subs. Delighted to see Jack Conan back as well. And I suppose the big loser is Ryan Baird in that regard, who again has been doing nothing wrong. But we are kind of in the back row, stroke second row there. We were in we were very well serviced there. So it's great to see Jack Conan back, and they wouldn't chance him unless he was 100%. And he hasn't let Ireland down, and was a starting lines in all 3 tests the last time round. So if he's right, he won't let us down. And the other one you said is the inclusion of Stuart McCluskey. That's Obviously because of the Henshaw situation, but there was also speculation if Henshaw wasn't able to make it, who else might? And Jimmy O'Brien was mentioned, and even Keith Earls was mentioned. But McCluskey has served us very well under Andy Farrell's watch as well, and I think he won't let us down if he's called upon. We're lucky, I suppose, in the centre that the two centres we have, particularly Bundy, they're playing the rugby of their lives, so we are very well serviced if those two men stay injury free. So I wouldn't be too.
We're sort of lucky that way. The Bundy's on a good streak of what would you call it, form at the moment, you know.
Playing out of his skin, and Gary Ringrose never lets Ireland down, so we are well serviced in the centres. But like you look at the Scottish team to pick today, and while we're going to have to beat them in the forwards, they really have a stellar set of backs. Yeah. You know, individually, all of them are superstars. So like it's ours are too, but we're going to have to restrict the ball that gets out to the Scottish backs. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. The other thing as well, Dan Sheehan starts this week. Ronan Kelleher had a dodgy start to the South Africa match, but in fairness, when you look back and review that match, it wasn't 100% Ronan's fault either. South Africa were very good at disrupting the line out and stepping in and coming across and that sort of stuff. But Dan Sheehan, I suppose, when he came on, was fantastic, you know, around the pitch and line outs and everything as well. So
I think he's been the former Irish player for the last 2 years. Like he's incredible, and I mean, sure, Keller was a star before Dan came along, so we're blessed in that regard too. So you know, and Herring not too far behind either of them. So yeah, we're strong in that particular position. But you're right, the line out was a disaster against South Africa for a variety of reasons. They weren't all Ronan Kelleher's fault, but hopefully they'll get that right on Saturday.
How do you see it going, Paddy? Is this the potential? Like we all talked about South Africa, we knew how hard that was going to be, and we went out and we beat them. That's grand, done and dusted. Could Scotland be the banana skin potentially?
I really don't think so. I'd be afraid of their backline if they get ball, if we kick loose ball to them, or if we don't dominate the breakdown. But I think if we don't kick loose ball to them, and if we do dominate the breakdown, we'll win. I won't say easily, but we'll win like as good as we won in Edinburgh last year, because I was over there at that game, and with all the things that went wrong, we still beat them comfortably. And their backline has got even better from that time. So I'd be, as long as we restrict their backline, I've no great worries.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to it, Paddy, and of course we'll enjoy the break from the local rugby, I suppose, this weekend. And
absolutely.
We'll all enjoy the Scotland match. It's on Saturday evening, 7 or 8 o'clock. Is it 7 o'clock?
Yeah, and like we'd a fortnight's lead into this, and it was, you know, we're raring to go. But imagine if we do win on Saturday, the build up. We've only a week to build up to the quarterfinal. It's going to be very high octane, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's great. It's a great excuse to have as well that Ireland is in such a good position with it. You know, usually the quarterfinals is always this cloud hanging over your head, especially with Ireland, because we exit at the World Cup on so many occasions.
Absolutely,
we'll be a bit more confident this time, Paddy, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Well, we had a session with Sean O'Brien in the club there lately, and Sean and Bernard and Alison Miller, and we were saying, did you ever think we'd say we're hoping to get New Zealand in the quarterfinals? Like, you know, it was, be careful what you wish for, you know, as they say.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's been a good World Cup so far. Anyway, a couple of big defeats of teams as well, which is not good, but that's a conversation for another day as well about the different tiers and stuff. But
particularly the New Zealand-Italy result, that was awful to watch, you know, considering. Italy were considering to be, you know, getting stronger, and certainly are at under 20s, but that was a big setback.
It was indeed. Paddy, thanks a million for joining us on the Knock On this week, of course, as you do every week, representing Tullow Rugby Club. James Blanchfield and Tom are gone off to look after other different matters. To be back next week, as will Paddy. And until then, everyone, take care and enjoy your rugby this weekend. We'll leave it there. There we are, Paddy. Thanks for that. Oh, you're frozen on me. You're gone. Or is the internet gone a bit weird? If you can hear me, Paddy, thanks a million. Oops. It's gone. Can you hear me, Paddy?